It cannot cause autoimmune disorders. It cannot cause infertility. When the inserts admit this, because I want to go over the inserts with both of you and then get into their master operation, why they're doing this, why they believe this, and then how to stop them. But how do they just lie and say there's no mercury when it's on all the inserts? I mean, it's like they're trying to discredit themselves, or do they have just complete disdain for the public? I guess if they're going to try to ban people getting even medium levels of vitamin C and vitamin D, I guess, they say vitamins are bad, but mercury is good. I mean, it's like I've woken up in Alice in Wonderland.
Exactly. Alex, there was a story in all the media a couple of days ago saying that women who got mercury in their vaccines while they were pregnant had healthier babies, had larger babies. And I thought, my God, Alice in Wonderland has nothing on this. This is callous, surely wickedly laughing liars. I mean, I can't think of anything else, because these people know, they know perfectly well that mercury is extraordinarily dangerous for the fetus and crosses the placenta.
Doctor, I can go to Whole Foods or I can go to other vitamin shops in Austin, and many of the products have mercury in them now. I mean, we're now entering a vortex of insanity. I want to ask you.
That's a good way to put it. Let me read to you what GlaxoSmithKline says on its package insert about the Arapanrix, which is the same as the Pandramix, which has now been banned in Switzerland, by the way, for children, pregnant women, and the chronically ill, the very same people that it is approved for without any testing, of course, in the United States.
Let me stop you again. That is key. They are targeting and pushing the vaccine on the very people that their own inserts admit shouldn't take it. Now, I mean, that is crime. Go ahead.
And understand that the high levels of squalene, even the vaccines that do not have squalene, will be administered, unless our suit succeeds tomorrow, will be administered with admixed squalene. They're going to drop squalene that they bought $500 million worth of, and of course it's an unapproved, very, very...
Wait a minute. That's the bait and switch. So you're saying they draw up the vaccine and then go to a bottle of squalene with it?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
and by the way, that happens to violate the FDA's own good manufacturing practices. That in itself, just that little trick that we're talking about right now, is illegal in the United States.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Okay, so go over what their own insert says.
Their own inserts say that in one person in 1,000, you will have allergic reactions leading, I'm reading from their own insert, allergic reactions leading to a dangerous decrease of blood pressure, which, if untreated, may lead to shock. That's 1 in 1,000. Doctors are aware of this possibility and have emergency treatment available for use in such cases, except for the fact that the people who can now administer it under emergency regulations are pharmacists and cab drivers and just about anybody who don't have these things available. They say that you can have convulsions, severe stabbing or throbbing pain along one or more nerves, low blood platelet count, which can result in bleeding or bruising. In a population of 300 million people, according to their own calculations, and we know, of course, that they're underestimating the dangers, we're talking about 30,000 people to whom this is likely to happen. Now, very rare, they say 1 in 10,000
But it's
cases.
not rare. We're learning about, in every case, the kids being forcibly inoculated because they're collapsing and having convulsions and having the blood pressure problem. This is devastating.
There is, in epidemiology, if something happens in 1 in 1,000 people, it's not called rare, it's called common. It's called an epidemic. They have changed the meaning of the word rare just as one of the casualties along the way. Very rare, which they say is in 1 in 10,000 people, and again, that's not very rare in a large population. vasculitis, which means inflammation of the blood vessels, which can cause skin rashes, joint pains, and kidney problems and lead to death. Neurological disorders such as encephalomyelitis, which is essentially meningitis, neuritis, an inflammation of the nerves, and a type of paralysis known as Guillain-Barré. Right? Now, this, they say, is in 1 in 10,000 people. In fact, it will be much more common. So we have nurses and EMTs and teachers pulling up squalene and injecting it along with the other vaccines at 90,000 injection sites around the United States.
Let me stop you again, because you're a medical doctor and an expert on this, but I've had all these other medical doctors on, Blaylock, top brain scientist, many others. They say clearly that in the Army studies in the 90s and in 2002, they had to suspend the anthrax shots and others. They proved that the squalene was causing the brain swelling, the heart attacks, the inflammation. So they know that by illegally putting squalene into this is why shouldn't the nurses just inject the little kids with cyanide?
Well,
then it was called Gulf War syndrome.
Now it should be called Sibelius syndrome, but it's a little bit worse. The dose, first of all, the injection of even 1 or 2 molecules of squalene can cause these problems. So let's be very clear that there is no safe dose of injected squalene. Now, the dose that they are putting in, and remember, the CDC purchased $500 million worth of injectable squalene.
And they've got uneducated people injecting people.
And it's illegal. It's an illegal, unapproved drug. So
but that's why Obama declared the emergency, so he could give the illegal drug.
Well, actually, when he declared the emergency, they already had the emergency use authorization to give the illegal drug that they'd given themselves permission for. The emergency is even worse than that. The emergency hands control of essentially the country over to Kathleen Sibelius, who can then, at her discretion, declare martial law. She can call a lockdown, and she doesn't need anybody else involved. So he handed to a non-elected, appointed official, he handed the control of this country's future with that devastatingly insane health emergency of October 23rd. But back to the squalene, which they already have given themselves the right to inject under emergency use authorization. And by the way, that's part of what we're suing to stop tomorrow. If you care about this, I would suggest strongly that you go to healthfreedomusa.org and make as big a donation as you can. A recurring donation would be nice. And let it end in the number 6 so that we know that it's earmarked for the legal funds. Because if we prevail, the FDA is going to appeal. If we don't prevail, we're going to appeal. And federal appeals are very expensive. So
amazing. Now we've got a break, but I want to get General Stubblebine's response. And I know you're going over the government's own paperwork that comes with the vaccine, what they're admitting it does to people.